Full facial tracking for VR is more prominent than ever before. And while it may seem like half the options are discontinued, there's still more stuff on the market than ever. That begs the question though, what is the best option? Even including the discontinued stuff. It makes sense to separate this into two categories, eye tracking and mouth tracking, because spoiler alert, the external mouth tracking add-ons not made for just one headset are better than everything else. What's nice about them is that they can be used on any headset, including ones that have face tracking already built into it. Since that's more straightforward, let's just start with the mouth tracking stuff. Treating this like a little tier list, the Quest Pro and Pico 4 Pro would easily be at the bottom. They have extremely similar, if not identical, capabilities for mouth tracking. What sucks about them compared to other options is that they can only let you stick your tongue out, and they don't independently track certain blend shapes for both sides of your face. Next would be the Vive Focus headsets and the Vive XR Elite, which if I'm not mistaken, do have identical face tracking capabilities. These ones give you full tongue tracking and also independently track both sides of your face. They're also just generally more responsive than the previously mentioned headsets. You just don't see them getting used a ton because the hardware itself is less capable than most other options. And finally at the top is the Vive Facial Tracker and Project Babel. Both of these are external add-ons and both of them perform extremely similarly. I personally would put Babel a little bit higher since it supports more blend shapes, and I think it does a little bit better of a job at more subtle movements. Plus, it's easier to use with wireless headsets since it itself has a wireless mode. Either way though, you're gonna have a good experience between the two of these, and they're leagues above every single other option. Eye tracking is where things get more interesting because the two best options aren't really that similar, and one of the best options is also the absolute worst option, that being Tobii eye tracking. Some of you are probably really confused right now since Tobii is a company that only makes eye tracking, and it's some of the best quality tracking around even outside of VR. When looking for eye tracking that looks good on an avatar, you have to balance quality with expressiveness, and most headsets using Tobii eye tracking aren't super expressive. It has been on a ton of headsets. The PSVR 2, Reverb G2 Omnicept, Pimax Crystal Series, Play for Dream MR, Pico Neo 3, that's a lot, and I'm still probably missing some. These headsets support looking around and Boolean blinking, meaning it can detect if they're open or closed. Nothing in between. A step above that would be various OEM solutions and iTrack VR. The Pico 4 Pro, Vive XR Elite and Focus headsets, Vario headsets, and iTrack VR all are better than bad Tobii eye tracking, but worse than the best options. All of them support squinting, so that instantly makes them better. The Pico 4 Pro supports eye widen, and everything else supports pupil dilation. I personally would put the Pico 4 Pro at the top here, since eye widen is a lot more noticeable and more commonly used than pupil dilation. Below that, I would put iTrack VR, because they plan on adding more features, they aren't there yet, but they're also open source, so I just kinda like them better than everything else. At the bottom would be HTC's eye tracking, because it kinda sucks, and also it should have eye widen, but it wasn't working correctly, so instead of fixing it, they just disabled it. And finally, the top two. Tobii eye tracking is seen on the Vive Pro Eye, and then the Quest Pro. Both of these are good for completely different reasons. Both of them support squinting and also eye widen on top of, looking around. The Vive Pro Eye also has pupil dilation, but the Quest Pro has eyebrow tracking. I also am pretty sure the Vive Pro Eye can go cross-eyed, and you can't do that with a Quest Pro. This one really just comes down to user preference. I'm personally more partial to eyebrow tracking since some avatars try and fake it based on how open your eyes are and it just looks weird. Either way though, kinda like the Vive Facial Tracker and Project Babel, you can't really go wrong, except this time it's not because the tracking quality is extremely similar, but because they both do different things very well. So then what is the best full facial tracking solution? Well, if money is no object and/or you're willing to hunt down discontinued products, then that would be the Quest Pro or Vive Pro Eye paired with Project Babble or the Vive Facial Tracker. Go with the Quest Pro if you want eyebrow tracking, and go with the Pro Eye if you want pupil dilation. Between the Vive Facial Tracker and Babble, there really isn't that big of a difference, and as someone who owns both, I personally find myself using Babble more, just since the software is way better and it still gets updates. If you're a normal person who just wants to buy something easily available, then your best option would probably be a Pico 4 Pro paired with Babble. Except I actually don't know if they still make the Pico 4 Pro or not, so in the case they don't, then the Big Screen Beyond 2i is looking like a pretty good option. I don't think they've shown off their in-house eye tracking yet, but even if it sucks, they're giving access to the camera feeds, which means you can just use it with iTrack VR. This video is largely my opinion, so if you have a different one, feel free to leave it down in the comments. To me, it's really weird that full facial tracking gear has kind of just gotten worse over time. All of the best options have been discontinued, save for Project Babble, which just came out. I really hope iTrack VR is able to get the features added that they want to add, because if they do, that would make it better than both of the best eye tracking options. For now though, we're kinda just stuck waiting around, hoping either Asus's headset ends up being decent, or some random Android XR headset comes around.